It's time for round 2 of tackling Peggy McIntosh's ridiculous list of white privileges. And I have to tell you, the more of these I read, the easier it becomes to believe that feminist publications could admit something as ridiculous as the idea of dog rape into their ideological lexicon. Evidence, credibility, and credulity are clearly non-factors in their never-ending stream of complaints. Virtue signaling is all that matters to these people.
I can be casual about whether or not to listen to another woman's voice in a group in which she is the only member of her race.
Is that right? Well, you would certainly fucking know, wouldn't you? After all, you're already in the habit of casually disregarding a person's opinion based on their race and gender. You go around telling straight white men to sit down and shut up simply because they are straight white men, as casually as possible and with absolute impunity. Take a moment to recognize that you've received nowhere near the amount of influential criticism needed to topple your career for saying these things, and how easily this garbage paper of yours was admitted into the annals of honored feminist history. For that reason, I guarantee you that no one could just casually admonish people of color for failing to listen to a quote-unquote white superior in 1988, not without serious repercussions. In fact, the 80s were rife with activist groups shouting down and shaming anyone not in their groups and blaming the rest of the world's complicity for their supposed oppression. The only difference between then and now is that intersectionality had not yet focused all of these entitled grievances like a laser onto the foreheads of straight white men. Bullshit of the kind you spewed in this paper had only just begun to bubble to the surface, and it has received nothing but support from the powers that be. Yet still, I've seen your smug face in the media very recently spouting the same crap, claiming that the voices of women and minorities are being silenced even as you and every other victim card-carrying NPC shout it through a fucking megaphone into the ears of society, to thunderous applause from the left and the complicity of the fence-sitting majority you were so sure were complicit with the suffering of people of color. And by the way, I love how the victim in your hypothetical bigotry just had to be a woman. Of course. What better way to establish your nonsensical ladder of privilege? I mean, fuck black men, right? Just let black women speak for them.
I can go into a bookshop and count on finding the writing of my race represented, into a supermarket and find the staple foods that fit with my cultural traditions, into a hairdresser's shop and find someone who can deal with my hair.
Peggy, you have never seen, and will never see, any book written by a white person praised by other people as quote-unquote white literature with the majority of public approval behind it. And as for people of color, the term white literature is almost always spoken with resentment, even though the vast majority of white literature was never meant exclusively for white people. I've actually heard from black families who refuse to have white literature in their homes. Black literature, on the other hand, is given its own section of honor in many bookstores. And it's given its own section because they know that there are enough racist black people and self-flagellating white people like you out there who will buy it simply because it was penned by a black person. Because they know that black resentment and white guilt exist with no shortage of outrage and delusions of oppression, and they seek to capitalize on that victim complex. As for your supermarket comment, forgiving the fact that I've never seen any food in any supermarket that's exclusive to white culture, as if such a thing has any salient meaning anymore, I notice how you aren't listing any of those staple foods exclusive to any non-white culture. God forbid you should fuck up and start listing off the stereotypes that I know were floating around in your head as you wrote this piece. What exactly aren't you seeing that's making you so upset? There are already aisles for Hispanic and Asian foods in many stores, especially the big chains. Should there be an aisle just for black people too? And what would that racist brain of yours like to see in that aisle, Peggy? Maybe chicken, pig feet, chitlins, watermelon, and grape soda? Go to any supermarket and openly suggest that to the manager. I would laugh my ass off when you were strung up for it. And regarding hairdressers, maybe that's because so many black people insist on going to barbershops and hairstylists that are exclusive to their race. Or did you forget that those places exist? Well, not only do they exist, but they can easily get away with marketing themselves with the intent to target and treat black hair exclusively. There are no white hairstylists, Peggy. The very idea would be scrapped the moment it was pitched to the business loan officer. The only thing non-racial exclusive hairstylists can do is set up shop and wait to see who walks through the door. And when they attract so few black patrons, exactly where do you think these stylists are supposed to get the experience in order to know how to deal with black hair? Should they just spend some time working for black hairstylists? How easily do you think they'd be hired with their white skin? How easy do you think their life is going to be every day? Do you really think they're not going to be judged as the only white stylist in an exclusively black shop? Of course you do. For the same reason you think that you can be sure of having a voice in a movement not for your race. I'm willing to bet that you've never actually tried, and I don't count your past exploits. The only reason they gave you a voice is because you've been using it to say that you shouldn't have a voice.
Whether I use checks, credit cards, or cash, I can count on my skin color not to work against the appearance that I am financially reliable.
You are fucking insane, Peggy. Nobody's skin color is used to determine their financial reliability. That prejudgment is usually based on a person's clothing, grooming, and personal hygiene. But that's irrelevant because nobody is even allowed to judge someone's financial reliability apart from their credit score or collateral. To do so would be professional suicide and a lawsuit waiting to happen. If you, as a loan officer, real estate agent, or store clerk, are asked why you chose to refuse service, and your only answer is because you aren't white, you can expect immediate termination and to never find employment in that line of work ever again. No one who sees a black woman walking around in diamond jewelry and designer clothing is going to assume that she's financially unreliable based on the color of her skin, you jackass. Nobody is that stupid, not even you. And just because you are in the habit of judging people on the color of their skin does not mean any significant fraction of other white people do the same. Once again, you are projecting.
I could arrange to protect our young children most of the time from people who might not like them.
Oh, you can you? Is that why they're teaching this white privilege bullshit as early as grade school now, with absolutely no care for the resentment it's going to breed at such a young age? Is that why nobody calls it hate speech when white people are berated and belittled, or a hate crime when they're beaten and tortured? Is that why Black Lives Matter activists are applauded when they enter what they deem to be white spaces and then threaten and denigrate the white people inside? Is that why safe spaces are being erected that forbid entry to white people? Is that why even the scientific method is being threatened with dismantlement based on delusions of white colonialism? You've never seen a Protect the White Children initiative, Peggy, then or now, and you never will. In our society, nobody would dream of blaming a black man's assault of a white child on racism, even though we both know that everyone would shit their collective pants if the races were reversed. And if what you're talking about is your own children, then I'd like to know exactly what you're implying here. Are you saying that non-white people somehow don't have the capacity to protect their children? That they're incapable of raising them in loving homes with two parents who both care about their safety? That they're incapable of speaking up at their children's schools or speaking to the parents of a bully? Are you saying that they're incapable of planning and financially regulating themselves to the end of finding residence in a better neighborhood? Do you know what we call these kinds of assumptions, Peggy? The soft bigotry of low expectations.
I did not have to educate our children to be aware of systemic racism for their own daily physical protection.
Oh, you most certainly did, Peggy. You simply failed to because no virtue-signaling ass clown like you would ever acknowledge that racism against whites is even possible, let alone systemic. I don't think it's unreasonable for any parent of any race to teach their child that they don't have to tolerate being hated or shamed for the color of their skin. But because you didn't, and because feminist jackasses like you made sure that most white people wouldn't, we now live in a society that systemically tells them that they're not allowed to be offended on behalf of their race. A society that systemically tells them that their voice does not deserve to be heard, and that their face is unwelcome on stage or on camera if it isn't accompanied by a face of a different color just to remind them that the color of their skin is inherently offensive. A society that systemically tells them that they don't deserve what they've earned in life, and that they don't deserve a job if any given person of color is inclined to take it from them. A society that systemically forces white people to bend over and take any and all abuse because to defend themselves is somehow racist. When was the last time you saw this being condemned as hate speech on any major news outlet, Peggy?
I hate white people. All of them. Every last iota of a cracker, I hate him. What the hell is wrong with you, black man? You had a doom day with a white girl on your damn arm. You want freedom? You're gonna have to kill some crackers.
I don't know what that means.
You're gonna have to kill some of their babies.
I hope they kill all the white babies. Kill them all right now. Kill them. Kill your grandkids. Kill yourself. Coffin, bitch. Go lay in a coffin. Kill yourself.
I can be pretty sure that my children's teachers and employers will tolerate them if they fit school and workplace norms. My chief worries about them do not concern others' attitudes toward their race.
Of course, Peggy. I'm sure that's why no white employer anywhere can even so much as suggest that a black employee dress appropriately or keep their hair neat in the same manner expected of every other employee without HR coming down on them like a ton of bricks, while a random black woman can stop a random white man in the hallway and harass him for wearing dreadlocks with absolutely no consequences. I suppose that's why a white kid bullying a black kid can expect to be educated on racism in addition to his suspension, while a black kid suspended for anything can expect to have his suspension annulled as soon as his parents and the media decide to put the usual didn't do nothing discrimination spin on it and threaten legal action. Your children's teachers and employers will judge them based on their behavior, Peggy, as well they should. But the black children you believe are so oppressed can now completely dodge any scrutiny of their behavior as individuals in the public eye. Now, if a black kid is suspended, it's simply presumed that it was a wrongful suspension based on the color of his skin. Just the same as any black adult who was pulled over, arrested, or shot by the police can expect to be shown in a sympathetic light regardless of what they did or didn't do. This is a privilege that no white person can claim, or at the very least, no white man.
I can talk with my mouth full and not have people put this down to my color.
Oh my god. You know, I totally expected you to start scraping the bottom of the barrel at some point, Peggy, but I didn't expect it by bullet point number 17. Is there really anything I need to say about this? I honestly wish that I was responding to this list of horseshit before a full stadium, just so I could ask, by a show of hands, just how many people in that audience have ever heard the sentence spoken aloud, "Those damn black people always talking with their mouths full." And how is this a privilege anyway, Peggy? How is this not white people simply not caring about other white people and letting you be viewed as a slovenly individual without recourse? Apparently that's another thing you don't realize. There are entire communities of white people out there who are judged for a hell of a lot more than just talking with their mouths full, and white people everywhere are content to let them be judged without taking offense, even though those judgments are exclusive to their race. How often do you hear slurs about black inbred hillbillies, Peggy? Or black meth head trailer trash? Yet the moment you even acknowledge a problem with gang violence in any majority black neighborhood, it won't even matter if you don't mention race. Someone will always come along and put those words in your mouth in spite of you.
I can swear or dress in secondhand clothes or not answer letters without having people attribute these choices to the bad morals, the poverty, or the illiteracy of my race.
Right, because nobody has ever seen a black mother publicly slap her child in the face for saying a swear word. I guess we're all just hallucinating. Secondhand clothes and poverty? Really? Okay, forgiving the fact that there are twice as many white people in poverty in this country, and the fact that judgment based on your clothing is going to result in the same treatment regardless of the color of your skin, you seem very confused. It seems to me that you want us to both acknowledge black poverty and never talk about black poverty. You can't have it both ways, Peggy. Which is it? Do you want us to address the problem of impoverished black people or not? Are you really stupid enough to think that the problem is just going to solve itself without discussion? And I repeat, by a show of hands, who here has actually heard someone say, out loud, "I should have known better than to expect Shamika to respond to my letter. We all know that black people can't read." How is this based in anything other than your own bigoted low expectations? These days, email has all but replaced traditional mail correspondence, and when I don't receive a reply from someone, just like any other normal human being, I tend to assume a number of things. Maybe that they're too busy, or that it got buried in their inbox. Maybe even that they're upset with me, or that I'm not even worth their time in the first place. But never once has the thought, "they must be illiterate," crossed my mind, regardless of the color of their skin. And I'm willing to bet that it doesn't occur to most white people either, regardless of whose attention they're trying to get.
I can speak in public to a powerful male group without putting my race on trial.
Yes, a powerful male group. Because we all know that women don't judge men, right? Or maybe I should just stop mansplaining my fragile masculinity because of my male privilege. You know what, Peggy? Why don't you go to the next Black Lives Matter rally? Try speaking on stage to the hundreds, maybe even thousands of black people in front of you, and say anything that doesn't 100% agree with their narrative. Anything at all. Just try saying out loud, "It's okay to be white." Or maybe even, "White people aren't your enemy." Watch how quickly your race is put on trial, as if it wasn't already.
I can do well in a challenging situation without being called a credit to my race.
Are you seriously trying to blame this on white male capitalist patriarchy right now? Your side is the only side doing this, you fucking simpleton. It's your ideological constituents who patronize the fuck out of every black person who does anything even remotely positive. Your side of the political fence was the one that decided we absolutely needed a Black History Month to celebrate the triumphs and contributions of black people. You are the ones who praise every single black politician as a black person every time they rise to a role of authority. You are the ones who are constantly putting out films on the trials and tribulations of black people and then subsequently praising every black actor and director as a credit to their race. You are the ones who are constantly saying, in a fair race of life, these black guys would smoke all of you. Jesus Christ, you feminist morons really are blind to your own influence, aren't you? Alright, that's enough NPC bullshit for one day. You know, I'm not a drinking man, but I have to be honest. A fully stocked liquor cabinet is starting to sound pretty amazing right about now. We're not out of the woods yet, you guys, but for now, I'm just gonna take something for this headache and mass murder a few digital bystanders to blow off some steam. Stay tuned for part 3, and thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw here, have a look at my other videos and leave me your thoughts in the comments. If you support my message, then please like, favorite, and subscribe. If you'd like to help this channel improve, you can reach out to me on Twitter or on Facebook with any suggestions. And if you'd like to support me more directly, please consider following me on Patreon. Links in the description. Thanks again, and I'll catch you all in my next video.